Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to DustyPinkAtelier. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to make this elegant princess line dress called Emma. You can buy this PDF pattern on my Etsy shop. Just click the link on the description below. Here are the materials we need to make this beautiful dress. Medium weight fabric. For this project, I'm going to use this beige tweed fabric. Matching thread, invisible zipper, lightweight lining fabric, and stay tape or fusible interfacing cut into strips. In my sewing pattern booklet, there will be suggestions on how to place your paper pattern and cut your fabric. Before sewing, we need to prepare the pieces. First, transfer all the markings or notches. Then, iron on a stay tape or interfacing on the front neckline of center front, shoulder seams, and side neckline of side front and side back. On the back neckline of center back, and lastly, the zipper area in center back. This step is optional. If your fabric frays a lot, I recommend you to overlock all the edges. Lastly, press all the pieces and make sure they are still the same shape and size as the paper patterns. Now let's start sewing. Open your center front piece with the right side of the fabric facing up. Place the side front pieces on top of it with the right sides facing down. They should be facing right sides together. Match the bust, waist, and hip notches, then pin. Mark the seam allowance corner point of the front center neckline, 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch away from the top edge and side edge. Then start sewing from the corner mark down to the hem. Next, place the side back pieces with the right sides facing up. Place the center back pieces on top of it with the right sides facing down. They should be facing right sides together. Match the notches and then pin. Mark the seam allowance corner point of the back center neckline, 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch away from the top edge and side edge. Then start sewing from the corner mark down to the hem. Press all the seams open for the front and back pieces. You may want to use a tailor's clapper to help yourself in pressing it. When pressing the bust area, use a pressing ham or round ham for a nicely done curves. You can also snip the curves to release the tension in the fabric. I skipped this step because my fabric has a little stretch to it and I'm worried about my fabric fraying on that part. To cut the lining pieces, fold the hem of the paper patterns as it should be shorter than the main fabric. Then do the same steps you did with the main fabric. After that, these are the pieces you should have: main front piece, main back pieces, lining front piece, and lining back pieces. Let's install the invisible zipper. Place the center back pieces right sides together. Pin the center back seam starting from the zipper notch down to the hem. Sew it, then press the seam open. Open the zipper and gently press the zipper slit away from the tape to make it easier to stitch. Place it right sides together with the dress. Pin one of the zipper legs to the dress. Sew it using zipper foot, but it doesn't need to be sewn close to the zipper slit yet. It's only a basting stitch and you may want to adjust the stitch length. Close the zipper, then mark the other zipper leg where the zipper stitch ends. Pin the other zipper leg to the dress, then sew it. Close the zipper and check if the placement is correct. Once happy with it, we can now use this type of zipper foot that can sew it close to the teeth. This might look a tedious method in installing an invisible zipper, but this really works fine with me and I think it's worth it. Close the zipper and admire the invisibility of the zipper from the right side of the dress. Then give it a good press. Now let's move on to sewing the lining to the main fabric. Place the main front piece and lining front piece right sides together, match the center neckline, fold the seam allowance in, pin, then start sewing from that corner. Understitch the center neckline at the lining piece at around 3 mm or 1/8 of an inch away from the seam. Make sure that the seam allowance is folded to the lining side. Next, match the two side neckline. The seam allowance on the corner should be open. Pin, then sew it but leave a 2 cm or 3/4 of an inch and stitch on the shoulder seams. Then understitch it as well. Clip the corners of the princess seams to reduce the bulk. Press and make sure that the lining is not visible from the outside of the dress. Now look at this beautiful square neckline. Let's sew the back piece of the dress. Take the lining back pieces, place them right sides together, pin the zipper notch down to the hem, then sew. Press the seam open. Place the lining back piece on top of the main back piece, right sides together, match the back neckline, and fold the seam allowance in. Pin, then sew. Now match the side neckline, pin, then sew it but leave a 2 cm or 3/4 of an inch and stitch on the shoulder seams. The seam allowance should not be folded. Understitch the back neckline at the lining piece with the seam allowance folded to the lining side. Clip the corners of the back princess seams to reduce the bulk. Turn the dress right sides out, then press the V back neckline. Make sure that the lining is not visible from the outside of the dress. Now look at this nice and crisp V-back neckline. Next, we're gonna stitch the armholes. Match the main and lining armholes. Pin, then sew it, leaving 2 cm or 3/4 of an inch and stitch on the shoulder seams. Turn the armholes right side out by grabbing it from the inside. Understitch the part that your machine can reach. Then, press and make sure that the lining is not visible from the outside of the dress. To sew the side seams, we need to spread out the front piece right side up. Then place the back piece on top of it right side down. Press the seam allowance open. Turn the dress wrong sides out. Now it's time to pin the lining to the zipper seam allowance, right sides together, then sew. Clip the corners to reduce the bulk, then press. Now we have to sew the shoulder seams. Match the ends of the main shoulder seams, right sides together, pin it without pinning the lining, then sew it. Press the seam open, trim the corners, then fold the lining shoulder seams and press. For the lining shoulder seams, you can hand stitch it or sew it with your sewing machine as long as your thread won't be too visible from the outside. Sew the center shoulder seam, then the side seams that we left unstitched earlier. Look how the stitch is not visible from the outside and it's also looking very strong. Lastly, fold the hem by 2 cm or 3/4 of an inch, pin or press it, then sew. Do the same for the lining. Then give it a good press. You have now your own handmade elegant dress, perfect for office, date night, museum date, or family gathering. If you just made this dress, feel free to post it on social media. I would really love to see your creation, so please tag me at DustyPinkAtelier or use the hashtag #EmmaDress by DPA. Thank you so much!